I was recording the whole time I was gone, too. Awesome. Welcome back to the SXS Guys Offroad Podcast. I'm Big Z, and we are in the studio today with a guest from the other side of the world, a.k.a. the East Coast, Mr. Billie Campbell of the Southern Gap Outdoor Adventure. If you don't know what the Southern Gap Outdoor Adventure is, or as I refer to it as the SGOA, this is an off-road event space, camping space, RV space place out in Virginia. Last year I got the chance to see the area and the people and the culture out there when we went out with UTV Takeover. But this year Billie's got a big event going on and we want to talk about that. But first, let's get into the introductions and who we're talking to today. Billie, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, Zach. Great to be on here with you. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah. So are you the owner? Are you the manager? What are you out there at the Southern Gap in Virginia?
Yeah, I'm the owner of Southern Gap Outdoor Adventure. We started it out as a campground at a trailhead for some on the Spearhead Trail System back in 2017. The Spearhead Trail System is a network of trails riding on reclaimed mine property here in Central Appalachia. We're next to a little town called Grundy, Virginia. It's the center of the world. If you go anywhere in the world, you'll meet somebody from Grundy. We're more than we're like Kevin Bacon. Never more than 2 degrees from Grundy. But we're here. A lot of mining happened in the area. So what we did, we take advantage of some of the old mining areas, some of the new mining areas. We don't really have flat ground, so we created a little flat spot up there with some mining back in the late or the early 2000s. And me and my partner were mining engineers by trades. We like this little spot. We said this would be a great place for a campground. At that time, it was about 30 miles of trail opened up there. The county was also working with an elk release site. So we had wildlife being introduced to the area. So the need and necessity for camping came up. And all of a sudden, it just started growing and growing and growing. And today, we have about 250 miles of riding trails centered out from our side.
And so the people that are listening and don't really know what's going on out there, your area is inundated with a culture of mining and working hard in the mountains and taking stuff out of the ground. And it's really kind of been the economic force in that area. And as mining gets less, the EPA comes down on mining as things transition to other technologies and other locations and things like that. Some of these mining sites, or even after they get expired, right? Like they mine all the minerals out. Now what do you do with it, right? You got to reclaim that area. The area that you're talking about, these mountains and these valleys and all these connected systems, weren't really riding areas per se. Like all the guys that live out there, they all know how to get around and they have their own trails and stuff. But you're talking about the Spearhead Trail System, which wasn't really like an established thing until, relatively recently, where you guys have started to invest money into creating trails, signage, markers, tracking and all that kind of stuff. And then the elk preserve stuff is a whole nother aspect of it reintroducing, nature to these mining areas. Can you speak a little bit about the area, how you guys came about it, like how you approached, building on a site, acquiring a site? Like how does that all work when someone's thinking about starting a whole like campground and riding area and trail systems and all that stuff?
Yeah, we were fortunate. As I said, I was a mining engineer, so I was working with the mining companies 20 years ago when they started going in and remining these areas. And what we had was an opportunity arose for the county to purchase a big piece of property. We actually the county purchased about 3,800 acres of property in that area. And that led to doing some post-mining land uses of some commercial properties and whatnot, with some industrial areas, some places that we could create jobs to diversify from the coal economy that we are still, attached to. But we understand in the future, those things will be depleted. So we had these 3,800 acres up there and things started going on. And there was an area in the middle and some rough terrain that the county acquired that was like, what can we do with that area? And, there was ideas of golf courses and whatnot, but hey, we came in there and said, this really doesn't lend to it. There's golf courses everywhere. So what makes us special? So,
I don't know. I would be willing to play a golf course where you shoot off the tee and it drops a mile down range.
Many times I've teed from the top of the mountain and go down a holler. So, but we looked at it and because of the timing that was going on, like I said, with the wildlife releases and everything, the outdoor recreation concept was really really grasped onto by the Buchanan County and the town of Grundy and the neighboring Dixon County. And Spearhead was a regional system that was trying to figure out how to do promote recreation in Southwest Virginia. And I mean Southwestern Virginia, not Southwest Virginia. we are in Virginia, but we're about as far west as you can get in Virginia. I'm about 15 miles from Kentucky and about 15 miles from West Virginia, so we're down here in the corner. But as you said, we're deep in the coal areas, and our heritage is bluegrass, is coal, it's everything, and our people are really tight knit. So when we had the idea of putting the campground in there, we started getting people from all over the country coming and staying in the campground, and within like 3 years, we'd had somebody from all 50 states and 6 countries come and spend the night here, and suddenly Buchanan County and Grundy, Virginia, was becoming a vacation destination, and that really excited what we could do with it. And like you said, we had partnered with the UTV Takeover guys to come out and host an event on the site, and that kind of opened the door of what we could do with our area. We've got personally, we have about 50 acres that sits right in the middle of that 3,000 acres that the county owns. And there's about 8,900 acres of area that the trails go. And we're dead center of it. It's not like out west. We don't have sand, we don't have dunes, but we have rocks, we have cliffs, we have straight up and down areas. We have old mine benches. So we have everything from easy riding to really technical steep riding. If you want to try to go up some areas and roll back down the hill, you can do it. We've got those kind of areas. So.
Yeah, I was totally impressed by just the how do you say it? They're not virgin trails, like they're established and people ride them all the time. But when we're coming out from like the West Coast and Northwest where I'm at, where it's all logging roads and industry up in the mountains, your riding is more of a reflection of that industry and what they've left over. Where out on the East Coast, a lot of the riding's private land. A lot of the riding is, these little systems that are established in nooks and crannies of different areas, and you don't really get to get out and stretch and go to different places. And I was really impressed by just the fact that the little bit of riding, I didn't get to do a lot of riding because when I was out there, I would just come out of an accident on the freeway and I was in a lot of pain and all that. But I did see a little bit of it, and just that kind of raw nature of those trails where it's, 1 second you got broken up shell. On the next one, you got slick rock going up the side of a hill. The next, you got some mud pits where deep down in the hollers where it's not evaporating, it's just staying wet and muddy the whole time. Like there's just this variation of terrain where you just never get a chance to like space out. You're always focused on there's another thing, there's another turn, there's another dip, there's another hill. I was really intrigued by that. That's the kind of style riding that I really kind of enjoy because it just intrigues all your senses when you're out there. So I really found it as an interesting riding destination, and with the Spearhead trail system of growing and being more established and more welcoming to visitors from out of state, it really is kind of a destination, I think, that people need to take a look at. What other trail? I mean, there was talk about those trails connecting to extended trail systems. Has that happened, and what does that look like?
Yeah, it's still going, and we're progressing, and as you said, there's a lot of private land here. So working out land agreements that allows us to stretch and connect these systems is still going on. But yeah, right at the moment you can come here and you can ride for an hour and a half in one direction. You think you're in the middle of, the wilderness, and you're never going to figure out how to come down. Then all of a sudden you drop off the hill and you're in the town of Grundy, or you're in the town of Hayside, or you can ride over into the Kentucky and the Breaks Interstate Park. So there's all these options, and again, the terrain will lend you to, we're not Deliverance, you might hear a little bit of banjo picking in the hollers, but it's not that scary. But it's adrenaline filled. I think you described it and hit it right on the head. You have to, you don't want to look down and read a text message while you're riding on the trails, because you could end up rolling down the holler, a couple thousand feet. And so that's not what you want to do. But,
yeah, the drop offs, they might have trees in them, but if you look down through the trees, you're going to go for a while.
Yeah. We've had a couple people that I had a guy drop a Polaris over the side, and he just said, "I'm not going to get it," so he left. So that happens sometimes, but not all the time. But the riding's great, and not only the riding, the terrain and the trails are awesome. But the thing you're going to do when you come up here and ride these trails, you're going to meet our guys, our local people that are riding it, and they stop and want to talk to you and introduce themselves, find out who your uncle and aunt is, who your grandparents were, even though you might be from Oregon or Washington or California. And they want to get to know you. So our culture really is about opening arms and embracing everyone. So I think people that come here always come back. That's the cool thing.
I find it funny when you're out there and you see everybody, riding in some of these events or whatever, but you always know who's from there and who's not from there, because the car that has the suspension and the portals and the big tires and it's 78 inches wide and all that, they're not from there. The local guys, they've got little 54-inch machines. Their only wheelbase is maybe like 70 inches, and they're just powering up those mountains, sending up full pin, and they don't hold back at all. And if you don't pay attention, those big cars, you're going to get left behind with those guys.
Yeah, they know that they're trail rats, trail dogs. We've got a lot of old guys that run around, and you described it. I mean, they've got all their little accessories to keep everything on, but it's not a lot of flashy units that are here locally, but they'll keep up with everybody.
So you said you have around 50 acres or so on top of the mine site there. I just noticed I started getting the draw. I see every time I talk to you, I start talking like you got all down there on the East Coast.
There you go.
But looking at your website, and got some beautiful pictures and stuff, but you guys really do have kind of a unique camping experience there at the Southern Gap. For a lot of our listeners are West Coast, Northwest, Southwest, Midwest. They don't really understand the East Coast, environment. They just think it's just a bunch of hills and trees, and hurricanes. But you guys don't really worry about those so much. But you do have a lot of unique weather and terrain and topography. But the Southern Gap has really established itself as a really welcoming place for vacationers, right? Like you can travel to there. You have full hookups. You got showers. You got all the amenities. Yeah. You're only a few minutes away from Grundy to get resources from Walmart or whatever. Kind of give us a rundown of the establishment there. You guys got an amazing, beautiful building that you personally have invested many hours, blood, sweat, and tears to build, that actually hosts events and stuff. So just give us the rundown of the site up there and what people could, maybe plan to go to or look forward to visiting.
Yeah, we've got, like you said, the campground. We've got 5 cabins that full bathrooms in them, kitchenettes. They're bunked up. They're not storage, what I call storage building cabins. These are actually stick built, solid cabins. There's things that my wife would stay in. That's how I've stayed in them, so I can vouch for them. So, that's what they are. So we've got 5 of those to rent, and we have 19 full hookup sites with Wi-Fi, everything going, sewer, water, 50 amp hookup sites. Then we've got areas to spread out to that we can do a lot of dry camping, and that's in the events like the event we got coming up, with Mountain Mayhem. We have fields that we can spread out to, and I think last year we had something like 200 RVs up on site. But you can come there and stay all year round. We have riders come in January, like you said, to ride in the snow, get up there and experience that portion. The fall of the year is probably our prime time. When you come in the fall, the colors, the scenery is just amazing and breathtaking. But then the elk are there. We have about a herd of about 300 elk that free range right at the center around our site. They'll be bugling and fighting in the fields below. We've got lookout terraces for them to go to. And then everything's centered around what is the visitor center. It's a 7,000 square feet center that kind of shows some of the heritage of Buchanan County, of our coal heritage, our wildlife resources. People are getting married there. We're having concerts there. We have business conferences there. And it's, again, like you said, it looks like you're in the middle of nowhere, but then you drop off the hill and you're in civilization. But we tried to supply. We want you to feel outdoors there, but we want you also to have the creature comforts that everyone's used to now. So we've got all that there. And we've taken personal pains, though, to try to make it beautiful and feel that way. We had a gentleman come and stay there from Australia, and he stayed in the RV, and all of a sudden he came, he said the next morning, he said, I was sleeping in my RV last night, and said, I could hear this noise, this big pump pop, pop. And I didn't know what that noise was. So my wife, we looked for it for about 15 minutes. We finally realized it was the clock ticking. We never heard the clock ticking in our RV.
In your own RV.
In your own RV. So, if you want to come stand on the mountain and be away from all the noise of the world and see the stars, and it's a great place to visit, the vacation, and do that. And then you can trail ride, like I said, but trail riding is an aspect of what we have there. And they hike, they bike, they do all kinds of other things on the trails. It is a unique experience. We bring a little West Coast with the elk or the Midwest and Jackson Hole back to Grundy is what we're kind of trying to do. So we bring a little bit of that feel, that vibe. But then we've always had an off-road kind of group is always back when we were young. We were riding motorcycles and dare take a 3-wheeler up some of these hills, but we did it. And but the industry's grown and modified to what it is today, and we're taking advantage of all those old Jeep trails and everything that was left by the mining industry, like you said.
So one thing that I had a takeaway from on my visit last year was just the community aspect of the area, right? Like, people think the East Coast, a lot of people's perspectives in my area are, high people density, big cities like that, or out in the middle of nowhere doing distills out in the trees and like doing all sorts of stuff. But I did notice that, pretty much everybody there either is connected one way or another to each other as far as through community or through programs or services or work or whatever. And it's not like, you just know somebody from work. It's like you've lived life at least a little bit with that person. And so everyone has a story. Everyone has like this timeline that you can follow into everybody else in every other territory. And I think it's fascinating to talk about the off-road scene, where the off-road community is so intertwined and so personal and so willing to help each other and so willing to get out and explore and help you recover your car and fix your parts or whatever. And I think that the little mining communities like Grundy and Hayside and all that stuff, they represent that in a day-to-day life outside of off-road. And it's kind of cool to see that aspect follow through off-road into day-to-day life, and it's a unique place. And you're more than just a campground owner, right? You're more than just that. Like, you're involved deeply in the community. I mean, you have your day job is working the environments and these companies that everybody has ties to. It's on Sundays with your church and all that stuff. Like, give us a little bit of background about the community, how that impacts like your decision to open this and to maybe expand out the tourism into trail riding and stuff like that.
Yeah. What you said is exactly right. We are all intertwined, and there's nobody here that really does one singular thing. I'm an engineer by trade. I own a campground. I'm a pastor of a primitive Baptist church that we know everybody. Like you said, we've grown up with everybody. I know everybody's kids by name. And then when somebody else comes in here, that our community has taken ownership of what we've done on the mountain, and they don't think of that as being my place. They think of that as being our place, Buchanan County's place. So when they bring their children or their cousins come in and visit, or somebody comes from out of town and comes to their home, they take them up on the mountain. They sit in the visitor center. They go out and look at those things. So they've taken it as a source of pride for what we are here, and that just kind of tears me up sometimes to think about how much everybody feels that it's theirs. That's what we wanted when we started. Was give some to change some apathy about some economic situation of our area is going down, and we've had a lot of people raised in some poverty conditions, and we wanted to have something here instead of people going away to always try to find something. Is have something here they can own and they can say this is ours, and that's what Southern Gap has become. It's what we're trying to keep doing with it, and we're seeing that. When I see I had a man. There was a man that was on Survivor a few years ago, passed away this month, and the family would put up a thing and said what the things he loved to do. He loved outdoors. He loved Survivor, and he loved going to Southern Gap Outdoor Adventure. And that, wow. And I was just like that. That's just something that just touches your heart when you have that kind of thing that occurs. That everybody just loves coming here, and then we got young kids that are going up there riding, meeting each other. They get engaged. They get married there. They honeymoon there. And we want that to continue to be on. I want to bring their grandkids back to Southern Gap and show them those things. So the more we can do to keep getting that word out there, I do want you guys on the West Coast to be able to experience the East Coast hospitality, the East Coast culture. We're not a bit ashamed about what we are. We're proud of it, and we want people to come in and get a taste of it. We're not ignorant, backwoods kind of people. We're loving. We've got that, like you said, help you in. Give our last dollar to help you out if you're stuck. We'll bring you home and feed you if you don't have food. That's just kind of the way our whole people are. So,
and I mean, you guys had some natural disasters here not too long ago, where down in these hollers where the water's coming down the mountains and sweeping away trailers and houses and dwellings that people have lived in all their life and don't really have economic support to push out of that situation, right? So they depend on these little things that they do own that they don't have to pay on and all these different things. And you guys had some floods come through there, and I know that the off-road community specifically was helping out with their UTVs going through the flooded areas and rescuing people and pulling animals out and all that stuff.
That's correct. And the ATV community here, the local riders, when that flood occurred in Hurley, everybody instantly went over there. We were riding on some outlaw trails to get to these houses that were cut off because of the rising waters, and rode down railroad tracks and got people back to safety. And the community is still recovering from that. But again, that's something that we saw in an instant of time. Not only the off-road community, the people that had been here, people from down South Carolina, from Tennessee, from Kentucky, those areas, they came in and said, "What can we do to help?" And that kind of embracing a connection that we have with everybody outside of it, I think, is one of the things that we're trying to continue on with Southern Gaps.
So when you talk about claiming the area and building it back up and being an economic contributor to the community versus just somebody that takes people's money in the community, how does the image that you had in your head when you started this whole concept compared to the way it's developed now, and what was the things that were unexpected and surprised you about that journey you took to get to where you're at now, and how does that reflect to your future, and what are you looking forward to do?
Well, I mean, of course, getting started, the reach that it went was faster than we thought it would. I mean, I didn't think that we would have families from Wisconsin vacationing at our place within the first year, but they did. And social media, this way of outreach it surprised me when I first came into this. Didn't know how to get our name out there, so we took a couple of print advertisements and those kind of things, and we really didn't get our name out there. But Facebook and Instagram and these things just all of a sudden started reaching us out to communities that we didn't have any. People come here and say, "How do you hear about us?" And Facebook, and those things were the big things. So that surprised me, and we've learned how to take advantage of that. The visitor center coming up, that's the kind of the key thing that we wanted to do, and I didn't know how successful it would be, but it has become, again, like it's a home. We're privately operating it, but we partnered with the county to construct it, and what we want it to be is that open door. It's open 7 days a week. People can just come there for free. They don't have to pay to get onto our property to get in those areas. They come and they go view the elk. They do those things. That's what we wanted to keep being. And we want it to grow. We want to, our capacity of campground, we've got areas to grow with that. We want it to keep going so that more and more people can come in. But these events, like what we're getting ready to have in July, those are the things that we got a taste of. And we think that event, those events themselves gave our community a lot of pride just to see those coming in. They were, as we say, they were tickled to death to just go up there and look at the number of state tags that were out of there and meet people they wouldn't normally meet. I mean, we've got kids here in school that sometimes the first time, out of leaving the state is on a senior trip. They've lived their whole life here. And then all of a sudden you turn around and you've got people from all over the world coming here and intertwining. I think that's what surprised me, is how fast it went. And that's what I wanted to continue to do. That's what our goal is. So
you've alluded to some events. Now, we've talked a little bit about the takeover event that happened over the last few years, and going into this project with the event center and all that was these big off-road outdoor mega things in your area something that you had in mind, or was that something that was like that you just kind of evolved into it and it really kind of took off?
It kind of evolved into it and took off. I mean, we were doing things like community night rides. We would do, some things in the day where we would come up there and group up, and we like this Saturday, we're having a give back community night ride where people bring canned food to participate in the night ride. They can bring pet food or canned food, and that's their entry fee and to come and participate in it. And then we ride into Grundy and do some things. But those are the things that we were starting out doing. And then the other, that large event that we had, Takeover in the past showed us that we do have the capability of hosting and then being that kind of large, significant event in the off-road community. So it showed us what we can do with the area. And so what we did when UTV Takeover decided to stay out west and this year and do that, it brought an opportunity for us to say, well, how can we continue what was going on and put our own little bit of feel to it? So we've added a little bit of a few things to it, and we're excited about it. Like we're not doing everything exactly the same, but we learned from what worked well, and we're going to try to compound on those things that worked well, and some things that we've had the people just ask for. We said, well, we'll try to do that. So that we're excited about that event.
So we'll talk about that here in a second. I'll dive into that a little bit. But you've had some really interesting events also throughout the year that are super interesting, like your game nights where you guys have like different game meets out and you got cooks out there cooking stuff, and you can sample all sorts of different stuff. I mean, that to me, as somebody that's a foodie guy, like that totally intrigues me, right? And to kind of combine the outdoors and riding and food and community and all that. There's a lot of aspects in something like a place like this, in a unique setting like this, where you can really have unique events.
Yeah, we have Elk Fest in the fall. That's what you're speaking of. It's this weekend. This year is fourth weekend in October. But we do things where we have arts and crafts, the community. We have we have moonshine makers, blacksmiths, everything come up to the top of the mountain.
A lot of people's ears just perked up in their cars.
Just perked up. but we do that, and then we also, as you said, we kick it off with a wild game dinner. So we're selling. That's the peak season of elk viewing and rutting. So they get to go out and look at those. But we eat elk, we eat bison, bear. Wild boar, rabbit, pheasant. We have deer, all that, and we're serving it different every year. And those little dinners sell out. We do concert. That's our cultural concerts. We do our usually bluegrass festival during that time. We got some famous guys in this area. This is Ralph Stanley's home place. This is some legends of Larry Sparks and these guys, Chris Stapleton, Tyler Childers. They're all right from this area. So we got a great musical source of talent here. So we try to showcase that a little bit and then do some things with that on that event. And it's growing as well. And it is unique. Again, it's another, there's a couple of places on the East Coast that do something similar, but not quite what we do. And we're trying to grow that as well.
So you had mentioned that you guys actually do get snow out there. I wasn't really quite educated enough, I guess, on the area, on the different seasonal riding capabilities you guys have out there. Kind of give us a rundown of what the year looks like on seasons and what that riding experience would look like.
Yeah, so like January, February, and March, that's you want to come ride, it's going to be cold, but they enjoy it. We'll get usually in February, late January and most of February and a little bit of March is when we really get most of our snow here. We can get snows up to probably 18, 24 inches. Then we'll get some skiffs of snow come down, but we've got some wide open fields that are out here around our part. And then when the snow comes, they come out there and be dragging inner tubes behind the side by sides and playing out there in it. So that's what our first of our years like. But in what it is too, it's a different visual. We don't have a lot of pine trees and deciduous trees, but so the leaves all fall, and then you see the trails of the mountains in a totally different light at that time. Right. So everything looks differently, and that's when you can kind of see the history of what the mines have done. You can see open auger holes, and you can see old mine equipment that was thrown in the hills, and some old tin chutes that the coal was transferred down that you could actually see out far away. You can see the towns down beneath you in the earlier part of the year. Spring starts lighting up. Everybody likes this time of year in riding because it's not too hot, not too cold, and it's moist. So we get some water falling down there, and so we don't have a lot of dust now. Now in the middle of the summer, we ride dusty. You want to come here, don't be afraid of the dust. We do have some dust kick up in the middle of the year, but in the middle of the year, we get some good exciting riding when it does rain. The mud holes come up, get excited. We don't have really swamps in the area like they do down south, but we have bogs that are on the old benches and everything that everybody rides through, and that's some fun stuff. You can find water and be eating dust all day and go play in that water. And then, like I said, again, fall of the year is probably our most popular time that people just come and visit because of the colors, because of the temperatures. Again, everything calms down. It's just beautiful riding, family-oriented riding, and we got a lot of people out on the trails with kids and teaching kids to ride. And then, that makes the loop back around. But we've got a little obstacle course that we leave open. That's a little area that they bring the young ones up with their motorcycles or their small 500s and do things. And parents will sit in the parking lot and let the kids go out and ride for 4 hours and then come back and take them back home. And they're not getting out of sight. So that's a neat little aspect that we've added to the campground in the area that they enjoy as far as the riding community goes.
Something I noticed when I was out there was how kind of encompassing the riding experiences with a family. If you have a family that likes to go out and ride, like everybody has their own unique vehicle that they ride and they all ride together. So you could have somebody in an RS1, you could have somebody on a dirt bike, you could have somebody on a severely underpowered ATV, and then you could have somebody on a big mudding machine, all of the same family, all riding together. And I found that really interesting because so many times we go to these different areas around the country and ride, and everybody does the same thing. Everybody has the same build. Everybody has the same accessories. But I found that super unique out where you guys are, where every single person's car is so specific to them and what they like. And it's not specific to the terrain or the location or whatever. It's their car, and it's their car, and you could have the exact same model next to somebody else's and it'll look nothing like the car next to it.
Hey, we're known very much. We get a vehicle, we bling it up. We got our own way of doing it. We can redneck up a vehicle quick. So everybody does put their own signature on their vehicle. They'll do their own modifications to their cages. They'll do their own unique tree kickers. Everybody does their own kind of thing. 'Cause we got a lot of guys here that are just awesome welders and manufacturers, and they do this. They did it for the industry for years. Now they're retired and they tinker. So you like you said, every machine is a one-off. It's not, you're not going to, you can run around and look at them and you'll say, where did you order that? I didn't order that. I made that. There's one of the trails. There's an Odyssey sitting out there parked on the trail. I had a kid riding an Odyssey up on the obstacle course a little while ago. And I said, hey, there's a throwback to the 80s, Yeah. So but they'll do it, and everybody just tries to make their own devices. You're right.
So you have a big event coming up. You have events throughout the year that happen at the event center or outside on the fields or whatever. But this is your first premier event that you guys have, as far as I understand, that you guys are really putting on at correct. The location. And this is really kind of meant to supplement the whole Left One Takeover this season, and bring the community back around this off-road environment, this thing that everybody loves doing. And so kind of give us the rundown on this event, what it's called, the dates and times, but really what people can do and expect and be a part of when they're there, and who's supporting you.
Okay. Yeah. So the event we're going to do is in the last weekend of July 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. It's called Southern Gap Mountain Mayhem. And that's the name came out of it. We see people come up there, things going crazy all over the place, and it's, unique to our area. So there's some areas we can go and it's just be a hill climb or something like that, but we're trying to add all these events. So we've taken events that Takeover kind of did over here, and we've added to them. We showed them kind of some things that we had done back in our area. So we're going to do those things, but all 3 days we're going to have riding competitions going on the property. Event pass gets you in and lets you ride all of the spearhead trails while you're here for that event pass. So everybody that's coming in wants to try out the trail system is able to during that weekend. And
because you guys do have a pass system out there, right? Like that's correct. It's not just free open ride. You're supposed to have a tag on your car to go ride these areas.
That's correct. Yeah, it's a tag for all the areas that Spearhead has in Virginia. So an annual pass will let you ride on everything in Virginia for that year. But you're during this event that's open, so it's kind of like a marketing campaign for them as well to get people out on the trails. So it's similar to what Half Hill McCoy does. It's a real a parallel system to that. But on those days we kind of expanded out what we were going to do, what we were going to try to do, and we contacted some people that had been there in the past, and we reached out and one of the big requests was getting Kawasaki to come back and do their demo rides. So Kawasaki is one of our title sponsors this year. Maxxis Tire is a title sponsor coming back. We have a vending area set up where these guys can come and show off the latest they've got, and then you can do acquisitions at the site. We set up I've got a food court. We're kind of flipping things from what UTV did. We're on the layout itself. We're using the visitor center as the main area. So we got the food court over there in front of the visitor center. We're going to have about 7 food trucks. We're going to have a concert area this time. So on Thursday and Friday nights, we're going to have basically rock concerts going on, or on Friday and Saturday night. I'm sorry, have some rock concerts going on. We've got some actually a nationally known band coming in headlining on Saturday night. Goodbye June, coming out of Nashville. They're touring with Whiskey Myers right now, and right before they come to us, they're going to be in I think it's Germany, and they're going to fly back over there and come to Grundy. So I think I love seeing that on their little slot, that, where the tour fits in, but they're going to be back up here. So our competitions are unique. We're adding a tug of war, a UTV tug of war this year. So we're going to actually strap some guys to each other and
those are always fun.
We'll get them that loose stuff and let them wreck a belt or two. We got that event. The most popular events that we have each year, we do a little short course race where it's about a 2-minute run down through the woods. You'll come up through some hill climbs and go through a mud bog, that kind of thing. So it's like a little rally course race. That's been popular. But the two big events, or the three big events that everybody loves, is we do a mud bog. We got parallel mud bogs we drag race through. We don't go through it any time. We put them side by side and let them go through it, and then get them about mid-door depth of water and let them have fun. That's that hot July sun. It's always nice to get out there and get a little bit of mud and water on you. But that's been a big show for us. And then I think the first year we did it, we had like 10 people try it. And, last year I think we probably had 50 machines go through it. So we think that'll continue to grow. And then we got a hill climb. So that's one thing about our terrain. We've got levels. And so we've got an area that's got about 200-foot rise in elevation. We last couple of years we've done a unique individual solo climb and did timing on it. This year we're building 2 parallel tracks, and they're drag racing up a hill climb. So we're dragging racing up a 60% slope, about 200 feet, and we'll just keep doing that, double elimination. So that's going to be a little fun this year.
Yeah, that'll be cool, especially with all the broken up rock and the ruts that get developed and all that kind of stuff. It just changes every time you go up it.
Yeah, it slings stuff all over the place. And you're right, there's no two rides are the same because, like you said, some loose shell on that hill climb. It's not just put it in low and granny it up. It's give it all you got. And we have drag races, just on the flats. We'll do about a 300-foot drag race course. So we've got, trophies to be given out, and all. We're doing 8 kid divisions. One thing we're doing a little bit this year too, we're doing on all those races, we're doing a motocross division. So we're doing motocross, short course, motocross. We got an obstacle course as well. As a little difficulty climbing up some truck tires. And when I say truck tires, I don't mean some large BFGs.
Mining tires.
I'm talking about mining truck tires. We've got tires that are 10 foot tall and about 4 foot wide. We've got about 10 of those laying around. So we're going to let some of the side by sides try to maneuver around those areas pretty good. We laid out some rocks from the mining areas. We got some big boulders laid out so you can do some boulder crawling. So all those events are wrapped up in a 3-day side. And then at nighttime, we're doing the kind of the rock and roll bingo. On Thursday night, we got a DJ coming in and he's going to kind of voice the whole thing over, but we're going to have that on Thursday. And then this year we're doing something a little different. We're doing a very late night ride. So we're having a night ride that's not leaving till 10:30. So we're going to truly have a dark night ride.
Yeah. And that's a little bit something different because I believe you guys normally have a noise curfew out there or something where you're not necessarily supposed to be tearing up the mountains in the middle of the night. So having the ability to do that in that at nighttime in the dark, and like I said, with the unique nature of that trail system, it really is a very unique experience, especially with all those cars where you're having to see somebody go up and disappear and then go down and then disappear. Like that's a unique experience. Just like, our night rides at Takeover last year with the sand dunes and stuff. It's a unique experience. This is just a different version of it. And I wish I could be out there this year to kind of experience that, because it would be so cool to see, all those cars out in the mountains in the middle of the night, disappearing, popping up, whips here, lights there. It would probably be an amazing time.
It is, and the night rides are our most popular things that we do as group rides. It's cooler down, but our topography is, if you could just imagine the Grand Canyon with trees, that's kind of what our topography is. It's a canyon system.
Lots of little Grand Canyons connected together.
Yeah. They're just that's what they call our area, is the Grand Canyon of the South. But you're right. You're sitting there looking over 800-foot drop, and that's what's coming down. But riding that at night, kind of our pucker factor goes up quite a bit. When people get up there and test those new seats out, but but we're having, which we're going to do a real late night ride on Thursday. And I'm looking forward to that. I think everybody will enjoy it. And then again, on Friday night, when we kind of start wrapping things up, we'll have a bonfire over at the visitor center. And then we're going to have concert. We got a band that's awesome coming out of Hazard, Kentucky. They play 80s rock. They're a cover band for, everything from Def Leppard to Whitesnake and all that. And so looking forward to them on Friday night. And then Saturday, that's probably we'll have our biggest crowd. Friday evening and Saturday, we'll have a lot of people from the region come over. Right. So we got a lot of people that are coming in and camping and doing overnight stays. We're flooding out to those dry camping areas now, and there are spots still available. So, get onto our website and look for those camp spots. But we got a lot of people that have come from the region on Saturday, so they'll drive over and trailer over and bring their machines up. So I think we'll have 2,000 or 3,000 people up there on Saturday, and it should be a fun time. And the cool thing about we've got Kawasaki is sponsoring us, Maxxis Tire is sponsoring us. We got a new sponsor this year called Beast Trailers. They're a trailer manufacturing company here in Buchanan County. They were a fan manufacturing company, and they started looking at the popularity of what was going on with ATVs and that stands for Best Equipment Sports Trailer is what it is Beast. But they started making them here, and they make an awesome aluminum trailer, and they're going all over the country selling them. But what we're going to do this year as a sponsor, everybody that buys a wristband that comes into the event is going to be entered to win that a 14-foot aluminum trailer from Beast. So awesome. So it's going to be given away. I don't care if 5 people show up or if 5,000 show up. We're going to get.
So I need everybody to stay home because I'm going to go fly over there just for one night.
Yeah, but that was a great thing we got set up this year. Kids 12 and under get in free. It's $25 for the entire 3 days, and it gets you in concerts. I mean, the concert itself for Saturday night, like I said, Goodbye June's playing for us, and that itself is going to be a great show. And we'll wrap things up probably about midnight on Saturday night, and people can stay and on Sunday morning kind of recover from it and then head back. But we really think it'll be a great opportunity, a great weekend of collaboration.
And you guys have some pretty awesome food vendors out there too. Like, normally you go to an event and half the trailers are just typical, fair food or whatever, and the other half are personal family-owned trucks that actually have awesome food. When we were there, they were all awesome family-owned truck food.
Yeah, we got barbecue, we got wraps, we got steak, we've got
you had catfish when I was there.
Oh yeah, catfish bites are Pig and Out's catfish bites are one of the most requested items. People coming here, and Mike's going to be back, so he'll be there. Chillers is there. Like I said, there's just desserts and everything. And Michael Waltrip Brewing, NASCAR fame, started a brewing. Has a brewery in Bristol, in Tennessee. And they're coming up and sponsoring our beverage garden. So we're going to go down on the 25th of June down to their place and kind of do a little splash about Mountain Mayhem with them. But we're excited to have Michael Waltrip on board with us. We've got a lot of McCoy Power Sports is coming up, bringing some machines. Planet Power Sports is bringing some machines up. They're coming up. We got guys bringing accessories. We got Powerhouse Cycles comes up there. If you break down on site, Powerhouse Cycles is going to be there to replace your belt. They're going to be our unofficial pit crew for the event. So we got Off-Road Vixens coming up, selling some t-shirts and Next Generation Graphics is going to be there. So we've got a good host of people coming up on the vendor row. So there's going to be plenty of toys to buy. Like I said, if you need tires, hold it off to July and come up here and let Maxxis put you a set of 35 Zillas on your KRX
on your 54-inch trail machine. Go put some 35 stickies on there.
Yeah, that's right. So we got those guys, and it's been fun. So we're excited to have those guys get back, and we hope to continue to grow. We want to reach out and the connections we've made with industry people through what the past events were. We're trying to build on those connections and get back, because I think they see a unique set of people that they're going to meet here, a clientele to come out to and reach out to. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, one of the things that over here on the west side and in the Midwest and all that, a lot of times people just focus on desert cars, desert dunes, all that stuff. And the East Coast a lot of times doesn't get the mind share because most of social media is based around Midwest to West Coast. There's a lot of money in this sport in that area. But the East Coast does have a lot of saturation with UTVs and ATVs. And I was surprised to see how many Kawasaki's were out there. That's a big brand out on the East Coast. And that also includes things like CF Moto and a lot of these different machines that over here on our neck of the woods, a lot of people are like, why do they even have those? Like, let's just make them all 80 inches wide. Let's just make them all 20 inches of clearance, 40 inches of travel. Like, let's just make them all big. But there's a lot of people over on the East Coast that just want easy, nimble, carefree, low maintenance, like, just give me a car that I can depend on to get me to work every day, because I do drive it to work every day. Like, there's that crowd out on the East Coast. And I particularly enjoyed seeing the variety of cars out there. And so seeing people like Kawasaki invest into this, seeing people like Maxxis recognize that, you know, the customers are out here at these events. And so the event space on the East Coast is super important, right? Like, the only ones that I've ever heard of before the last year or so were all mud events down south, right? Like, you see all these guys, they're just a big party all night long for a week, out in the mud, out in the river, whatever they're doing at their location. But events like this, where it's out in the woods, out in the mountains, showing and showcasing the ability of these cars and the community around it, is super important. So it's awesome to see that brands like Kawasaki are willing to continue to support events like that, even though it's not necessarily an established brand or event space that travels the country or something like that. I think it's super important that the mom and pops and the small event spaces get support from these manufacturers, because ultimately speaking, the community is going to really rally behind them. It's really going to support the industry further. And you guys have a lot of aftermarket guys up there. You, like you were saying earlier, about fabricators that have, retired out of mining or out of maintenance or big cats or whatever. And they're looking to the sport and saying, this is something I enjoy doing. This is something I enjoy building on and something wrenching on. And so it's super awesome to see that a first time event like Mountain Mayhem coming together is still going to get the eyeballs of the bigger manufacturers, because it's really going to support the growth in the community and further these events down the road.
Yeah, like you just mentioned those mining companies shifting to this. JI Fab is one also going to be on site, and Johnson Industries was a mining manufacturing company here in Eastern Kentucky, and now they've got a division that basically makes cages and kickers and everything. And I just enjoy being on these social media pages and seeing people in California saying, I got my cage from JI Fab, and knowing it comes from the coal fields here it makes us proud to start seeing that. And I think you're going to see more of that. I think you're going to see more individual custom parts, and designers keep coming out of our area. We got them in West Virginia, we got them in Virginia, got them in Kentucky, and they're going to keep springing up. And that customization. You talked about the different machines we have. We do have those guys that will tune up, they will do everything, they'll add everything on it to be able to get that machine to go 90 miles an hour. But the vast majority of our trails, you're not going 90 miles an hour. So that's like you said, we always like that the one that has the ability to crawl up a mule's face. That's what we want, being able to go up the side of the hill, make sure it's not going to roll back off.
Yeah, there's definitely a space to have the horsepower, right? But you're going to be going to 60 to 70 miles an hour, and as the bird flies, you're only going about 100 yards.
That's it. We got some trails. But now one thing I will say about the trail system, there are a lot of places you go in parks. You might ride 100 miles of trail on 500 acres, but now that's not what we've got. We've got about 250 miles of trail on almost 9,000 acres. So you're getting out there. You're not just looping back and forth on yourself. So it's unique. So you can ride in multi directions and see something. We have enough trail system to make a multi-day, week-long stay here worth it. You're not just sitting there digging holes in the same spot. You're moving around. So.
And up here in like the Northwest, you get on these logging roads, you get on these different trails that you're supposed to stay on or whatever. And, after about 1,300, zigzags through the mountain, they all start to feel the same, right? And like I said earlier, that's what I really enjoyed about those trails, was that every 5 seconds, it was something just a little bit different, a little bit more complicated, a little less complicated. Like, you just always had this variation going on. And I can totally see, like, even going across the road there, like one side was completely different from the other side of the road, where one side was more swoopy and open, and when the other side was all up and down. And so I think it's really cool. I would love to, just have more experience out there, because I think that there's definite like areas where you might recommend somebody to go to versus other areas, depending on your experience, on your car, and on your adrenaline, level if you're an adrenaline junkie. So, yeah, I think it's definitely cool. And so the Spearhead Trail System is a community effort, and are you guys as a community starting to see the reward of that investment?
Yes, we are. I mean, you're seeing homes that are around the trail system that have been empty for years. Suddenly, there's guys putting them back and making them little rental cottages. That is causing an economic growth. And one of the things we do as a community, we estimate the Virginia Park system kind of uses a number that we can get. About $65 to $70 a night per non-resident visitor comes to the area as the impact on the community. Well, we're sitting here just in this county, probably brought in around 35,000 visitors last year coming in to ride the trails in Buchanan County. So that, you see what that does as an economic impact for buying food and gas, lodging, and doing those things. And so, yes, definitely seeing a return on it. And I think we're seeing a very positive vibe out of the community to want to now showcase. Years ago, when we first started this, everybody had their own little private areas. I don't want you coming riding on mine. That's mine. But now they started seeing it. I think everybody's liking the idea of it conglomerating into one gigantic system that we can showcase. And then people like to then show off their area. This is where I was riding when I was
right.
a kid. That was a hill climb that I broke my arm on 4 times. There's all those little stories going. And so now I'm seeing that happen more and more with the community. So I think it's going to be growing. Yeah, definitely excited about it.
And when I was out there, one of the fun quote unquote fun stories is getting there through some of those windy hollers and some of those roads. And I just remember seeing semis coming up onto the pavement with trees branches sticking out of their upper roofs and stuff like that. But you guys have just had a big expansion on the freeway system out there, right?
Yeah. And right now the roads are getting connected in here better. I'll say don't follow GPS when you come in. Follow our directions. If you're going to come into Southern Gap, call the office and say, how do I need to come? Because GPS can take you on some areas where your fifth wheel may not be the best way. But we have 4 lanes within 7 miles of our property right now. Probably in about 2 years, we're going to have 4 lanes within a mile of our property. So there's no way, it's definitely accessible. GPS is not the best thing. It's a liar. And
Google's never gone off road and doesn't really understand some of these
it doesn't
places.
understand that. No, I've had old guys give us directions, how to get areas, and it always includes a mining road or a gas well road, and they're like, man, I came down the other side, there was a gate, what happened? But yeah, do you follow our directions to get in here? But we do have, again, and think about where we're at. We're within a day's drive of, I think, 7 state capitals. So the East Coast has got a great population. It's where everybody's at, but you don't have to drive, all the way across the country to get out and experience stuff like this. You can come out and get there in 5 hours or 6 hours and get to us. And that's the unique thing about our geographic location. We're not too far from the Northeast. We're not too far from the Midwest. We're not too far from the Deep South. So, they can all come in here. And I like that. And we've seen that reach. We have them from, we've got sand guys from down south, mud boggers from Louisiana. We got, mountain riders from Michigan, so it's a totally an eclectic group of riders come in and they meet and then they come back and meet up. So,
yeah, that was something I took away when we visited Oklahoma last year. I didn't understand that there was people traveling from like Texas all the way up to like Minnesota, and they would blow right past Oklahoma, not know that there were sand dunes there, right? Like it's super interesting to find these little gold nuggets of riding and community that we can all participate with. And I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to experience more of that and showcase a lot more of that, because there's so much to see and do. That's the cliche, right? Like everyone says, get out, go do something. There's so much to see and do. But a lot of times we limit our scope to what we see on social media, which is limited by our scope of who we follow. And so we kind of are living in an echo chamber of what we can and can't do with these off-road vehicles. And like when we do our long trips on off-road and we do 1,500 miles from border to border or whatever, it really opens your eyes to what's able to be done, what's capable with these cars, what you as a person are capable of doing if you stretch yourself a little bit and take away a little bit of your creature comforts. You can really find some adventure. And I keep coming back to this community storytelling type thing, right? Like that classic talking in the garage thing, that car club culture of telling stories and experiences that in the moment may have been awkward or troublesome or stressful, but after the fact, you're just like, wow, that was an amazing adventure that I want to do again. And I think that some people could really have that experience over on the East Coast, and I'm really talking as a West Coaster, right? Like, like everybody that listens to this from the East Coast are gonna be like, what are you talking about? We do this every stinking day. Like you're crazy. But there's a lot of people coming into our culture, into our industry that are new. They've all, the last 2 years, sales have been record sales with a lot of the OEs. Inventory is hard to get. Like, there's a lot of new people coming into this sport, and they need to know about places like this. It's not just, 5 minutes out of town and then driving for an hour and going back home. It's like there's adventures you can find, right, and there's unique experiences you can find and not have to sacrifice. You can get a full service camping spot. You can get a cabin if you don't have an RV. Like, there's a lot of these places that are willing to cater to you if you're willing to look outside of your 50-mile, radius of your city.
And I think, and the good thing, and I'll say this, the good thing about COVID is that it caused people to get out of their comfort zone. The people, the families that were used to going and standing in line at Disney World and, paying 2 months of salary to buy a couple of drinks, that those people came and said, well, we want something to do. We want to get out of the house. And they came here, and now I think we've arrested some of that community is that kind of push people out to go try new things. And being out here in the middle of nowhere, it's got its advantages. We had a family when COVID started from Orlando that were staying in our campground. They were supposed to be staying for 3 nights, and we got ordered to shut the campground down. The only thing we could open the campground for was for long-term stayers, and that had to be at least 14 days. So I went and knocked on his door and was like, you're going to have to leave unless you want to stay. He goes, well, we'll stay. He had his kids there. Well, their school shut down, his business shut down. We had awesome Wi-Fi. He was able to work. The kids were able to go to school online. They stayed for 8.5 months, so they just parked there, and they're coming. So
did they get chores, or was this like
we give everybody assignments when we get them on the side there, But that's the kind of thing that I do think that if everybody would step out of the comfort zone, as you said, and try something new, I think you'd love it. And I promise you this: you come to Central Appalachia and meet these guys, these people, the culture here, you will remember it, and you will want to come back. It's something that it's definitely unique and different. So I encourage everybody to try it.
So what does your schedule look like for, maybe camping out there? Because not everybody might have the flexibility coming down during the Mountain Mayhem event. Maybe they're interested on, they already have time off at a different time of the year. What does it look like to get in as a campsite, and how can they do that?
Well, they can do that coming onto our site at www.sgadventures.com, and you can book straight there through our site. We have those cabins available, and we're a 365 days a year open campground, so we don't shut down during the winter. So we're there. We have, of course, we have some of our holiday times and peak times are all, probably sold out on the weekends. But check it out. We do have some cancellations at times, but a lot of these guys, if you take a vacation in the middle of the week, you'll come up here. You can be up here and be by yourself with in this vast area. You will run into people, but you also, the guys from the more populated areas will feel like you haven't seen that many people, but yeah, log on there. We've got over camping available. If we don't have camping available too, we've got connections with local people that have bed and breakfasts through VRBO. We'll put you in contact with somebody, because that's how bad we want you to come into Buchanan County. So if we're full, talk to our office. We've got connections to people that own cabins, own houses, to get you in here. So whenever you are open or available, make Grundy your destination spot. Make Southern Gap a place that you put on your bucket list, because I promise you'll enjoy it. So.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that some of these adventures and vacations can happen midweek, right? Like there's so much there's so much going on.
Riding on Wednesdays too.
The interesting thing that I found is that when you get out into these little areas, like on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday or something like that, you start to see the normal people that live there and occupy, and you get to see a lot more culture. You get to hear a lot cooler stories and connect with a lot more interesting people that way. But the more interesting thing, I think, is your opportunities kind of are expanded a little bit, because everybody that runs the campground or the trail systems or whatever, they're occupied with everybody on the weekends, right? But during the week, you have the opportunity to connect with them and ask, where's the cool lookout? Where's the cool, like, where can I really make the most of my day today? And they'll tell you exactly where to go, how to get there. what to expect, what you need to take with you to really have a excellent experience. And I think that people often overlook the fact that you can schedule during the week, right? Like you don't have to have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday adventure. You can have a Tuesday through Friday adventure sometimes. So
that's right.
So you guys are on social media, obviously. You can find them at Southern Gap Outdoor Adventure, and it's not outdoors adventures, it's outdoor adventure. And I have to catch myself every time I say that. But like you said, SGAadventures.com, even though it's adventure, it's adventures.com.
So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we even got a TikTok. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing on
Are we going to see you dancing and shucking and driving up there?
Dancing. That's my kids, they get to help dad with that, but we are trying to reach out to everybody we can, like us, share us, throw us out there, tell your friends about it. I think it's a good opportunity to come to the east. If you guys are out west, I've had a couple memorable trips to your part of the country, and I remember every part of it, and hope you guys could do the same. Come to this side. So
for sure,
treat you right.
So check them out online. Check out the event. The Southern Gap Mountain Mayhem event is July 27th through the 30th this year. There's ways to connect with them online on their website. Just go to their website. It's on the right-hand side below their logo. They have, like he said, some awesome cabins. If you don't have an RV and you're just looking to show up, that's always a good time just to go out and hike and see the elk and the beauty around the area. There's a lot more to do if you want to just reach out a little bit further and drive a little further. There's, like he said, all the different state capitals and stuff. I mean, you're not too far from Nashville either. So you can go and experience that along the way. There's a lot to do out there. And a lot of people, like I said, if you're like me and you like talking to these guys that have lived life and have a little bit of storytelling streak in them, you can basically occupy your entire vacation with just that. So get out there, have some fun. The event's this July, so we're not too far away from that. Start planning now. And until the next time, guys, enjoy your weekend and